Welcome and shalom. We are live tonight on this Wednesday evening. Last Wednesday, it looks like, of June 28th, 2023. It's now 9:50 p.m. Central Time, where I'm at in Minnesota, and many other people, many other peeps. Hope you all had a wonderful day on this Wednesday. It was a nice rainy day here today. But I did manage to go to my thrift store 90% off sale last Wednesday of the month. That was fun. Got a lot of stuff. That was a good time. Then picked up a couple. I had to pick up some cat food for the wild cats outside, the feral cats. There's some stray cats that one's out there eating right now. I got them a new kind, a little better kind. A little better kind. And they're liking it. I think one is a mama kitty because she's got all of a sudden a ferocious appetite. She comes up every night. I think it's probably a mom that's nursing or something because she is starving every night. She's out there right now. In fact, she came when it was still light out, and I didn't even have the food out yet. And anyway, so she'll get her tummy all filled up and go back and take care of the babies. I'm pretty sure she's got babies because most of them aren't really starving like that every night. That one is, so she's probably nursing. Dogs keep barking at something behind the barn, so she might be behind there with some kittens or something. I just keep them out there. I don't need another porcupine incident or whatever. So, as you can see by the title, we're having tonight and tomorrow night the final of our series of the Greek gods. And tonight is the Greek gods in the Bible, the ones that are mentioned in the Bible. And then tomorrow night we'll have one more segment on Greek gods related issues and related items. And that will wrap up the Olympian gods, the 12 Olympian gods series. So that is the plan. That cat's out there just chomping away. I'm glad because she looks starving. Anyway, they'll all be up here soon. A long rainy day. But we need rain so bad. It's been the driest 60 days on record since the early 1800s. Very long time. And we got quite a bit of rain. It poured and downpoured, so it was nice. My garden is rocking, loving it. My yard. Actually, well, hi Dee, how you doing tonight? My garden gets watered by a hose every day, but oh hey Grace, how you doing tonight? Did you get a lot of rain? We got a lot of rain today, and it was awesome. I loved it. The grass loved it. It was very a welcomed rain, so it rained on and off today, and nice and soaked. You doing good? Awesome. Good to hear. I hope everybody had a good Wednesday. How about you, Grace? Did you have a good Wednesday? Doing good? Yep. I did. I went to my sale in town, the 90% off sale at the last Wednesday of every month. So I went there and just a couple things that came home. Got up and to stop. In town tomorrow, there's the big fruit, the big produce sale is in town tomorrow. They're setting up tents. So Anyway, there's only so much produce you can buy when you're single and live alone because it only lasts so long. In fact, I bought a watermelon and it's taken me a couple days to eat half of it. And anyway, so fruit and produce is hard to stock up on unless you are having a party or somewhere, have a big family. But anyway, but it's nice. My garden is rocking. I'll be eating tomatoes and cucumbers in no time. You know what I bought today at the thrift shop? I bought a tomato slicer, and I never even knew there was one. I'll get it. I already used it. Hopefully rain will be here on Saturday. You guys need rain too? Yeah, we have oops. Stuck at my holder here and I just put that on the screen. Listening with busy hands, making my salad. Trust you had a good day. I had a wonderful day if you're talking to me. I hope you guys did too. Yeah. Yep. Putting up some more fencing in my garden. Trying to keep it neat and tidy this year so I don't have to run everything over with my lawnmower or riding lawnmower and tomatoes start going all over the place. I just plow them over. And yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, hold on, so I'll show you that thing I got. It was 75 cents. It wasn't on sale. It is from Elko. Elko brand. I think that's what it is. Here. Or Echo. Echo brand. I'll show you real quick. So this was not on the 90% off. Only green tags were, and this was a yellow tag. But this is for slicing tomatoes. It's got little teeth things on there. Anyway, I already tried it. And they perfectly sliced tomato. Isn't that awesome? I love that thing. Anyway, I brought it home, washed it up, and used it. And I got perfectly sliced tomatoes in my refrigerator. I already used some tomatoes, but anyway, those are the little things that make life easier. And that's what it's all about, right? That's every day I'm trying to get something. Yeah. I always tried to do things to make tomorrow easier, That's my goal anyway. Yeah, that was nice. It was 75 cents. Not 90% off, but a deal none the same. Anyway. Yeah, so that was fun. Got a few things. And then oh man. Bosco, I should let him up. Bosco. Or hey, who is doing that? All right, never mind. Hold on a second. Let me get him. All right, sorry about that. Anyway, Cat's cats. So scat your cat. All right, anyway, I'm back. So that is what we're going to do tonight. And if anybody missed coming in there, I said that tonight we're going over the Greek gods that are in the Bible, the ones that you'll find in the Bible. Somebody, I think, well, they found 30 something. I can't remember how many, 36 or something. I can't remember. There's 30 something but Greek gods mentioned in the Bible, the ones that we've been talking about. Then tomorrow night we're going to finish our Olympian Greek god series tomorrow night, Thursday night, with one last thing. Also interesting. And then Friday will be an open chat. If it's nice out, and it should be, I want to do a bonfire one of these nights. So that is the plan. So anyway, that's tonight and tomorrow, and then Friday will be an open chat. Oh, you know what I did? I got a new big stainless steel insulated tumbler at the thrift shop today. Also not 90% off, but well worth it. I can drink out of it, and it doesn't dribble down my shirt. Because my other one I've had forever, I was in the living room and just filled it up. Go sit on the couch, put my tumbler of water on the thing next to me, and the dogs knocked it over. They're rustling, and I don't know, one of them backed and hit the whole table, and the whole thing went flying, and my cup smashed on the ground and bent, and it's now when you drink it, it dribbles. So I did everything I could to try to straighten it back out. Couldn't do it. These things are expensive. They're like $25, and I just couldn't spend that money on it. So been looking for one ever since. What's it been, 2 months since that happened? At least. I found one today, $2.50, like new. And you know, it's funny thing. The only difference is, the only thing I kind of a little bit bummed out about was at first when I bought it, it did not have the slide thing that closes it, in case you tip it. So, but I will tell you, since I've been drinking just water and not Kool-Aid, when you spill, it's not so bad. It's just water. But anyway, I took my other cup, my sliding top off my other cup, put it on this cup, and it works perfect. So anyway, I'm rocking my new cup tonight from the thrift shop, and ready to go. So I hope you all had a wonderful day too. Got lots of rain. My grass is happy. Garden's happy. I'm happy. Hope you're happy. Hope everybody is. We're going to wrap up our Olympian God series tomorrow, so that's cool too. Anyway, you know what? I just noticed, when you get your license, redone, they put they used to cut this corner off your driver's license. That means that then you had to have the piece of paper until you get your new one. Well, now instead of cutting the corner off, they put it through this machine that stamps little holes in it. Little holes. Wait, just today, I don't know why, but for some reason I held up I just got my new driver's license in the mail. It was due. And I held my old one up to the light for some reason. And I just noticed, what those little dots, that it spells out void. I don't know if you ever noticed that. Let's see if I can show you guys. It spells out void. It's backwards because I don't want to put my... Let's see. I don't know if I can show that. Let's see. Maybe. The void. It's not just dots. It says void. Anyway, never noticed that. I always noticed they were dots. I just thought that they stamped speckles over your face. Anyway, so we're going to roll right into this. Some good stuff. And then tomorrow we're going to wrap up with one more cool item, I think. Either you like it or you don't. Anything interesting with you ladies or anybody listening? You can chime in too. All right. Otherwise, we're ready to go, I think. Well, we're coming right into July. It's crazy. Like 3 weeks ago, my garden beds were like empty with tiny little things, and now they're just rocking food all over the place. A lot can happen in 4 weeks, huh? Anyway, all right, or 3 weeks even. All right, so I think we'll get right into this. Okay. Just getting my figuring out which tabs I want to start with here. Let's see. All right. You know what I thought was interesting? Now that we've gone over these Greek gods, I think it's interesting that they mistook what was it when they landed on the island of Malta? Remember the shipwreck? Was it there? I think when they mistake Paul and Barnabas for Zeus and Hermes or something. Oh man. Anyway, lots of Greek influence and Greek and Roman influence. Anyway, so thank you, Father, for this day. Thank you for all that you provide. We thank you for this gathering and all of our blessings. Amen. Actually, I'm going to start with something else. I'm going to just show you real quick, just to get kind of an idea, and not Jesus so much at all. Actually, it's Paul. Paul. Paul spent most of his ministry or churches or whatever you want to call it, in Greece. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll show you real quick. Just want to show this map just to get so people get an idea. I mean, they were. Let's see, where's Athens? I think it's here. I can't remember, but anyway, so that here. Do I have another map? Yeah, I do. Okay, there's Athens. All right, I'm just gonna show you real quick. Greece, Athens. Do you see where? Here's Greece, and this is Greece. All the yellow is Greece. This is where Paul did his ministry, or the churches. This is where all them churches were. Here's Athens, okay, pretty much Olympic God Central. Here's Greece, okay, and by the way, of course, he ends up in Rome, so you got your Greco-Roman influence all the way, you know what I mean? So just remember, here's Athens down here, but look, this is Greece. This is all this yellow is Greece, okay? All this is Greece. And so when you see the map, zoinks. All right, so Athens is right about here. So look at, I mean, they basically the churches like surround Athens, Greece. Here's the Colossians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Thessalonians, Corinth, and of course he also, where did he do? He ended up in Rome, up here. Can't see my arrow because the thing's covering it, but there. Rome. So you wonder why, well, I don't wonder at all. As a matter of fact, so down here, it's gonna, just to get you kind of a bearing where they're at. Down here is Israel, okay? See down here? Jerusalem. This is the Mediterranean Sea right here, okay? So just to get your bearings, here's the Mediterranean Sea. Here's Nazareth. Here's Judea, Jerusalem, okay? So here it is. So this is where everybody else is. Where's Paul? Paul is up here with the Greece and the Athens, starting his churches. And you know what? That's why Jesus, his ministry with the Jews didn't go over too well because they knew their Bible and everything. Paul's ministry took off and it became basically, in my opinion, Christianity. Why? Because he's dealing with these pagan God people, the people who have never read a Torah or anything about it, don't know anything about the Hebrew God, the God of the Hebrew Bible and all that, or the Hebrew God. They don't know anything except these Greek gods. And so, I mean, turning water into wine, sign me up, right? I mean, this is right up their alley. So anyway, I just want to show this map because I think it's kind of says a lot. I mean, just remember he's where Paul's ministry is from. I mean, the churches and all that. All right, now, so how many pagan gods or false gods, or whatever you want to call them? I don't know. They just call them Greek gods, I guess. Now, there's a lot of false gods, and I don't think that there's 35 Olympian gods, but I think because there's not just Olympian gods and not just the the Roman counterparts, but there's a whole lot of other gods. But the Olympian gods, yeah, there's as a matter of fact, I'll show you the Olympian gods, and there's probably more than this. What Greek gods are mentioned in the Bible? Events in the New Testament play out against the backdrop of Greek and Roman culture. That's what I just showed you on the map. This is where they are, Greek, Roman. So all the churches are set up, like surrounding Athens, Olympic headquarters. So it's not surprising that some of the gods of the Greeks and Romans are mentioned in the Bible. 5 different Greek gods are mentioned by name. There are several allusions to the names of other gods. And actually, we'll go over the list of other gods. But first, we're going to go over the Greek Roman ones that we just studied for 2 weeks. Now, one of the Greek gods mentioned is in the Bible is Hermes. Now, real quick, I'm going to show you. The tabs are real slow to open when I have so many of them. All right. First, actually, I'll just show you. I'll show you a glimpse here. There's 30 Bible verses. I guess you can see it. 30 Bible verses about false gods. Here's 30 Bible verses, but they're not Roman. I mean, they're not the the Greek gods, but some of them are. I think 5 or something. But this is all the other gods. I mean, there's, you name it, everyone you've ever heard of that we have not gone over we're going over like the 12 originals, but these are all of them, which is 30 in the 30 different mentions of other gods, false gods in the Bible. Oh, here, matter of fact, I'll just show you real quick. These are the ones that we're going to go over real quick. First of all, I shouldn't say real quick. These are the ones that we're going to go over. The deities mentioned in the book of Acts by name are Zeus, Hermes, Artemis, and the Dioscorio, something like that. All right, so that's one's. Well, we're going to go over the Greek gods mentioned. I'm not sure. I think there's 5 of them. All right, and by the way, I'm just going to read this. It says, "What does the Bible say about Greek gods?" It says, simply put, the Bible says all of the gods are false gods. It acknowledges that many believe in the Greek gods. When the Apostle Paul first went to Athens, he made the definitive statement regarding the Christian belief about the Greek gods as part of a sermon recorded in Acts 17. And is Zeus mentioned in the Bible? Yes, he is. In fact, he's mentioned in chapter 14 of Acts. Now, that's of course written by Luke, who was not an apostle. But anyway, so Zeus is, and I think, yeah, it wasn't Barnabas. It was Paul. It was Paul. Paul and Silas were the ones that were mistaken for Zeus and Hermes. They thought Paul was Zeus and they thought Silas was Hermes. What? Yeah, I'm doing something right now. Scram, kid. Also, in the book of Maccabees, which is not included in the Protestant Holy Bibles, he is mentioned as the Syrian Greeks took over ancient Israel and put statues of Zeus and other Greek gods in the temple. That is interesting. Syrian Greeks took over the ancient Israel and put statues of Zeus and other Greek gods in the temple. You know, I should probably look it up real quick. I'm really curious. I just thought of something. What was the statue that they put up? Do you guys remember? I'm going to ask Google. Oops. In 70 AD, when the Romans took over the temple, remember they the last place that they busted through at the very end was the wall in the temple. When they broke into the temple, they made the abomination made desolate or whatever. They set up an on the altar in the Holy of the Holies or whatever. They set up an altar to Zeus, or was it who? Let me see. And they sacrificed a pig and a goat or something. I can't remember. Let me see. Let me ask real quick. Okay, so they sacrificed a pig, which I knew that, but there was also like a goat or something. Sacrificed a pig to the ensigns. I'm not sure what that is. But anyway. Good to remember, yeah. All right. All right, so let's go over and look at the ones that are mentioned. And well, not just the Greek gods, but remember when Jesus took the disciples to the bottom of, what was that mountain where, as a matter of fact, that's where the transfiguration happened. What mount was that? Was that Olympus, or which was the? Anyway, they went to the mountain for the transfiguration. Remember? Well, right before that, though, that the bottom of that mountain, and you can still see it as a tourist today, but at the bottom of that mountain is where it was the gates of hell. That's the gates of hell, where Jesus said the gates of hell shall not prevail. That's where they were standing, at the bottom of that mountain. Was it Mount Olympus? Which one was it? Anyway, that's where the transfiguration was. But at the bottom of that mountain, they have all those places where they sacrificed the children. So one, you threw them in one was the water that they threw. They threw it in this cave, the baby in the cave, and it went into like some water or whatever. And that was the one god. And then another one, it was like, there's still to this day the Hebron. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is Mount Hebron. Anyways, yeah, so at the base of Mount Hebron, they have those. In fact, I'm going to pull it up just in case anybody hasn't seen. So that's actually the gates of hell. And then there's actually still burnt char marks. They got those things built into the wall where like they had Pan. You could worship Pan, and there was like burn marks where they threw the babies in. And I think was it Hebron? Yeah, Israel. So yeah, so here it is. The gates of hell. Caesarea Philippi. Or Caesarea Philippi. There it is. Oh, wow. Look at this. I never even noticed that. Samson in the gates of Hebron. And you know what the crazy thing about Samson is? When they cut his hair and they took him into captivity, I think it was in this area. Wasn't it in this area? Hebron? Anyway, Samson, remember when he was blind, they poked his eyes out and then they made him like work like a mule or whatever. And then at the end of the story, he asked if he could touch the walls. And hello, Catholic. Good to see you tonight. They asked if he wanted to touch the walls, and what he did is he pushed the pillars down. He pushed the pillars down and collapsed, and he died, and everybody died. And you know where that was? It was the speaking of Catholics. Speaking of Catholics, it was the Dagon. They were worshiping Dagon, the fish god of the sea, where in fact Dagon. And this is where the Catholics get their hats. The Roman Catholic Church is the one true church against which the gates of hell shall not prevail. All right. That's cool. That's why you signed up, huh? Anyway, Dagon, the fish god, that they would get the advice. Dagon. So anyway, I think it's funny that when Samson knocked down those pillars and that they were worshiping Dagon, which he was going against the Catholic Church. Something very fishy in the Western religion. There's a fish god Dagon. That's where Samson knocked the pillars down. That's what they're worshiping. This god right here, the fish god. That's a fish hat. Fish god. Fish god. Fish hat. Something fishy going on. Anyway, so that's the god that they were worshiping in the temple where Samson knocked it over. So anyway, but yeah, he can have his opinion. I don't care. Anyone worshiping Dagon is a non-Catholic abomination. Good. That's good. I prefer not to be stuck in any religiosity box with things. Yeah, we're not really. Now each person can do what they want on this channel. That's good. You're not worshiping Dagon. I would ask the Pope why he's got that Dagon fish hat, though. Look at that daggone hat. Ask him, what's up with your doggone fish hat? Or is it a Dagon fish hat? Anyway, but that was just a side note. I didn't really plan on doing that. But anyway, good timing with the Catholic thing and all that. All right. Anyway, what I was going to show you, though, is the gates of hell. And this is still over there. Where is it? I'm going to show a good picture of it. Here's a close-up. There's a close-up in case anybody hasn't seen it. So, there. Let me get my get a pencil or something. All right. So here's the gates of hell. And this is, Jesus brought them here. But at that time, this is what they're worshiping. Here's one God. There, they threw the babies in there. There was water in there. And then at one time, God caused an earthquake and cracked this whole thing open. And not only did he drain the water out of there, whatever, earthquake drained the water out. And that water ended up going to people that needed it. It's kind of cool. But here they've closed up, they bricked off the doors. But here you can see it's charred from the fires where they would put the babies in the lap of the god or whatever it was. They throw the babies in it. That's why it's all burnt up. There's another one, so there's Pan, and I don't even know the gods. But anyway, so they were worshiping a lot of gods. Let's see if I can get a different picture. Here's one that's back a little bit further. You can see the char marks. Yeah. And this is where Jesus was with his disciples when he said, the gates of hell shall not prevail. And this is the mountain. And this is at the bottom of the mountain. Mount Hermon, is it? Anyway, so if you go to the top of this mountain, that's where a few other things happen. Anyway, that's where the Mount of Transfiguration was at the top of this mountain. So this is a lot of stuff has happened here. But this is where Jesus was standing when he said, the gates of hell shall not prevail. And all that. The last valid Pope Pius XII, who died in 1958. Oh, and the rest have been clones or what? All right. All right, now let me get the one that I want. All right. Actually, so you could go forever studying the you're on the wrong channel. Yeah. Yeah, we don't really, you can worship whatever you want. Greek gods in the King James Bible. And God, it says. Now these are just Bible verses that say gods. Greek, as you can see, Greek gods, Greek gods, Greek gods. That's what, if you're whether you're either Greek or Jew, circumcised or not circumcised, it's always the Greek or the Jew. So Greeks. Here's their Greek gods, Greek gods. There's lots and lots and lots of mentions of Greek gods. By the rest are antipopes. I don't even know what that. By rest, I mean since 19. Oh, like an antichrist, except an anti-pope. Huh. Do other people think that with you? Hold on a second. I have to find the PDF file. All right, let me find the PDF file. I think it's one of these first ones. Here it is. Nope, it's not even it. Here, Greek deities mentioned in the New Testament. Yeah, we called them Sedevacanists. Ah, well. Are you trying to warn people? All right, there we go. Greek gods. These are the ones mentioned in the New Testament, but they're on. You're probably going to have, obviously, you're going to have more Greek gods in the New Testament than the Old Testament, because this is where they were. So anyway, Paul and Barnabas are mistaken for Zeus and Hermes. Remember that? That was funny. Many people are familiar with the Greek and Roman deities from reading about classic mythology as children. I never did. I wish I did. One thing many people are not aware of, however, is that there are actually quite a few direct references to a number of Greek deities in the book of Acts in the New Testament, which describes an apostle visiting Greek cities and encountering opposition from supporters of traditional Greek religion. So that's the kind of thing, if you can't beat them, you join them. The deities mentioned in the book of Acts by names are Zeus, Hermes, Artemis, and Dioscoria. The rest of the popes are good popes. Yeah, the ones before 1958. Now they're bad. But before they were good. All right. Acts 14, 8-3 describes an incident that supposedly occurred during Paul and Barnabas' visit to Greece, city of Lysteria, in the region of Lycaonia in Asia Minor. After Paul miraculously healed a lifelong cripple, the people of Lysteria. Oh, it wasn't on the island. That was a different thing, because he got bit by the serpent. Remember, he shook it off, and they thought he should have died. At first, they thought he was a devil, and then they thought they were gods. Anyway, I guess it's happened more than once. I forgot about that. There's a different time when they thought they were gods. This is a different time. City of Lysteria in the region of Laconia in Asia Minor. After Paul miraculously healed a lifelong cripple, the people of Lysteria hailed him and Barnabas as the gods. I knew it was him and Barnabas in one of the stories. So it's him and Silas in the island story, and it's him and Barnabas in this story as the gods Hermes and Zeus, respectively. Huh. Wait a minute. What did they mistake him? Well, we'll figure. Remember, in the island of Malta, they thought they were demon. Well, he thought since he didn't die, he must be a demon. Then they flipped it and thought he was a god. So anyway, here's a translation of the passage from the NRSV. In the Syria, there was a man sitting who could not use his feet and never walked, for he had been crippled from birth. He listened to Paul as he was speaking, and Paul, looking at him intently and seeing that he had faith to be healed, said in a loud voice, "Stand upright on your feet." And the man sprung up and began to walk. When the crowd saw that what Paul had done, they shouted in the Lycaonian language, "The gods have come down to us in human form." Barnabas they called Zeus, and Paul they called Hermes. And that's funny because they're the one. That's funny because that's the one that's got the medical staff. Remember the Hermes with the staff and caduceus? You know what I mean? The caduceus with the staff and the two serpents. Huh. Interesting. The healer, the healer God. You know what I mean? Anyway, Barnabas was called Zeus, which is funny, the king of all the gods, and then Paul was called Hermes because he was the chief speaker. Interesting. The priest of Zeus, whose temple was just outside the city. Like I said, these people, that's where Paul was. He was surrounded in Greece and Athens and everything else. He and the crowds wanted to offer sacrifice. Ruh-roh. Did they? Can't remember. They actually killed it. You know they go in foreign guise, the gods do. looking like strangers, turning up in towns and settlements to keep an eye on manners, good or bad. Huh. All right. Anybody want a Israel and American flag pin? They're pushing it heavy. All right. Anyway. All right. So let's see how much time we had here. All right. The ancient Greeks from the very earliest times believed that gods sometimes came to earth in disguise in order to observe human behavior, and that a person could never take it for granted that the person they were speaking to was really mortal. That's, remember, they said in the Bible, it says you may be entertaining angels unawares. Remember that? Actually, I'm curious. Who said that? Paul? That's so Paul. Hold on a second. Maybe not. Maybe it's Jesus. Hold on a second. But if they're in Athens, that would make sense. Ah, my phone. All right. You may be entertaining angels unawares. Hebrews 13:2. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some may have entertained angels unawares. See, that this is a Roman thing, where people come down. Well, actually, you know what? It's also in the Old Testament in Sodom and Gomorrah, when Lot and the angels came to Lot, and they were in human form. Remember? Anyway, and they were handsome, apparently, according to the story. The ancient Greeks from the very earliest times believed that the gods sometimes came to earth in disguise in order to observe human behavior, and that a person could never take it for granted that the person they were speaking to was really mortal. In the Odyssey book 17 lines, this or that, one of the suitors declares, is translated by Robert Fitzgerald. And then they quoted, you don't know if you're entertaining angels, basically, same thing. Early Christians maintain a very similar belief to this. Early Christians, of course, did not believe that deities came to visit mortals in disguise, but they did believe that angels sometimes did this. According to Hebrews 13:2 warns, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. Inscripts from Listeria have demonstrated that Zeus and Hermes were worshipped there together. This account of Paul and Barnabas being mistaken for Zeus and Hermes also relates to the ancient legend of Bacchus and Philemon. Remember that? The guy set in region of Tyana, which neighbored Laconia. This story is told by the Roman poets Publius Avidius Naso, 43 BC, long before Jesus was even born. A collection of myths and fables from around the Mediterranean were from around 8 AD, when Jesus was a baby. In Ovid's retelling of the story, the gods Jupiter and Mercury, the Roman equivalents of Zeus and Hermes, visit a town in the region of Tyana in Asia Minor. Disguised as weary travelers, they knock on all the doors asking for a place to stay the night, but every single household turns them away. Finally, they come upon a rustic cottage on the edge of town where there lives a poor elderly couple named Bacchus and Philemon. Isn't that something? Because Philemon is a book in the New Testament written by Paul, allegedly. And isn't he the runaway slave that Paul says to go back home and then they killed him? Anyway, Bacchus and Philemon led the two gods into their home and prepared them a meal of bread and wine, very similar to what? Sodom and Gomorrah. Interesting. That's very interesting. As Bacchus pours the wine from the pitcher, however, she discovers that it always remains full, no matter how much she pours out. like the water into wine, right? Suddenly, the couple realize that their guests are deities, so they throw their hands up and plead them for forgiveness for this simple meal. Philemon thinks about fetching the family's only goose to kill and serve to the gods, but Jupiter preemptively tells him not to. Instead, he commands them to leave the city and flee to the nearest mountain at once. Wow, this is the Sodom and Gomorrah story. I knew it was ringing a bell. Instead, he commands them to leave the city and flee to the nearest mountain at once, warning them not to turn back till they reach the summit. Do I see a pillar of salt coming? Bacchus and Philemon do as Jupiter commanded, and once they reach the summit of the mountain, they look back to see the rest of the city has been completely destroyed by flood, and that their tiny cottage has been transformed into an enormous, ornate temple to the gods, which Jupiter and Hermes entrust them to be caretakers of. That is the story. Oh, did you just convert to Catholicism, Grace? All right. Oh, here. This is a picture, by the way. It wasn't painted to like the 1600s, but they always had them weird, creepy faces. Anyway, great is Artemis of the Ephesians, Jupiter and Mercury in the house of Bacchus and Philemon. Huh. Interesting. She's fetching the goose. You know when they say what's good for the goose is good for the gander? I just found out like a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, a goose is a boy duck or the boy goose, and the gander is the girl. The boy's the goose and the gander's the girl, or vice versa. Anyway, just means what's good for the girl is good for the boy. Anyway, about that time, no little disturbance broke out concerning the way a man named Demetrius, a silversmith who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought no little businesses to the artisans. No little business to the artisans. These he gathered together with the workers of the same trade and said, "Men, you know that we get our wealth from this business. You also see and hear that only in Ephesus, but in most the whole Asia, this Paul has persuaded and drawn away a considerable number of people by saying that gods made with hands are not gods. And they're in danger not only his trade." Anyway, remember, they got in the way of the statue guy. And I think it's funny because all the way back in the Old Testament, remember when they took off and I remember her name. She stole the statues from her dad and sat on them. They always liked their statues. I mean, thousands and thousands of years ago. This is a photograph of 1st century AD cult statue of Artemis, as she was worshipped in Ephesus from Ephesus. So just remember, the Ephesians and the church of Ephesus, this is what that town was worshiping her. She's got a heck of an outfit on there. Here's another marble statue of Artemis of Ephesians. So this is what the Ephesians, this is what their city worshipped her. From Ephesus Archaeological Museum, also dated in the late 1st century. So this thing was carved about the late, Paul died in like the 60s AD. Jesus died in the 30s AD, Paul in the 60s. Jerusalem was overtaken in 70 AD. So this thing was carved, during that time. I'm not sure what all them things on her chest are. Oh, and by the way, the Dioscuri as the figurehead on Paul's ship. So this thing was on the head of the ship that Paul had. There you go. Possible indirect allusions outside of Acts. Above Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well, painted by the Danish in the 1800s, whoever here is in Samaria. Greek icon of Jesus as a true vine. John's got a lot of it. John has a lot of the Greco-Roman stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read this. The book of Acts is the only book in the New Testament that specifically mentions Greek deities by name, but other books in the New Testament frequently seem to allude to them indirectly, particularly the Gospel of John. Now, John is loaded. All right. A second. All right. For instance, in John 4, 1 through 26, Jesus is portrayed as having a discussion with the Samaritan woman at Jacob's well in the Samaritan city of Sychar. In John 4, 13 through 14, he tells her, "Everyone who drinks of this well will be thirsty again. But those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give will come in them in spring of water gushing up to eternal life." Now remember that. We all heard that. The cult of the god Mithras, which was just becoming popular in the Roman Empire in the late 1st and early 2nd centuries AD, around the same time when the Gospel of John was written. He was the rock star god of that time. He's known to have used water as an important aspect of its rituals. Some scholars have therefore interpreted the Gospel of John as water of life discourse, as potentially a polemic against the Mithriatic cult. When the author of the Gospel of John presents Jesus as saying that whoever drinks this water as an earthly water will be thirsty again, he may be deliberately trying to criticize the Mithriatic cult's use of holy water, and that's where your holy water comes from, Mithra. Oops. I mean, it's a great thing. The gospel writer then introduces a new kind of water symbolism. Water is a symbol of eternal life through Jesus Christ, and as a matter of fact, all scholars, all of them, the earliest they put John is maybe 90 to 100 AD. Some might say well after that, 2nd century. Well, this just shows you, it's like saying somebody was obsessed with Elvis Presley and all this stuff. Well, that must have been somebody, during the 60s or 50s or 60s or 70s, right? You can kind of narrow it down. When everybody loved Elvis Presley, well, when was that? What was it from the 50s to the 70s, right? Well, if everybody loved this God from, the end of the first century into the 2nd century. So, that pretty much another way to date John is who's the rock star God at the time? Who's everybody worshiping? Hey, April, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I know. He wants to be Catholic. He can be Catholic. I'm not joining, though. I'm telling you. If you're trying to recruit anybody, I mean, you can spew off like that. That's fine, as long as you're respectful. All right. A less contentious example, and this is the one I always think of, Dionysus. And the less contentious example of a possible indirect allusion to a Greek deity in the Gospel of John occurs in John 15, 1 through 17. And what's this one? You know this one. Who's this quote? In which Jesus tells an allegory in which he calls himself the true vine. Who is that? That's Dionysus. Many scholars have interpreted this discourse as a subtle polemic against the cult of the Greek god Dionysus, who was worshipped in association with wine, drinking, grapes, and vines. As a matter of fact, that was Dionysus. He says, "I'm the vine, you're the branches." That was Dionysus's quote. 300 years before Jesus was born. So when John, he's quoting Dionysus, not Jesus, because Dionysus said this like 300 BC. Hundreds of years before Jesus was born. Dionysus is saying, "I'm the vine, I'm the true vine, you're the branches." Dionysus is turning big jugs of water into wine. Hello. Long before, 300 years before Jesus was born. And they had plays. In fact, I think it was 400 BC. I don't know, but they had plays that go on to this day about this. And what's crazy is that same play has all kinds of stuff in the book of Acts, too. In the book of Acts, the Dionysus in that play, the Bacchae, which Bacchus is Dionysus, it's the same Roman Greek, Bacchus, Dionysus. In the same play, dude is in prison, and there's a big earthquake, and it rattles the doors open, and it breaks the chains off him, just like had happened to Peter 300 years later. Same thing, earthquake, door opens, shackles come off, he walks off, nobody sees him, he gets away, and then what? Oh, another scene in the play, the guy wants to get out of the city, so his friends put him in a basket and lower him over the wall. I kid you not. Same thing. Puts him in a basket and lowers him over the wall in the middle of the night. Same thing that they did to Paul, allegedly. Anyway, it's kind of funny. I sat through that play one time just to take one for the team, you know what I'm saying? And it was brutal, but they got all kinds of, you can watch all kinds of different, hey, enough of that. They got all kinds of different plays you can watch, but the one I watched was brutal. All right, where was I? Many scholars have interpreted this discourse as a subtle polemic against the cult of the Greek god Dionysus, who was worshipped in association with wine, drinking grapes, and vines. In essence, in this passage, the author of the Gospel of John seems to be deliberately presenting Jesus in a direct opposition to Dionysus. And you gotta say, well, which one of these came first? Dionysus was 400 years probably before Jesus, 500 years before they even wrote about it, or 600 years. Think about it, 400 BC to 2nd century AD. That's 500 years. Now he's saying Jesus did all this stuff? Anyway, the author of the Gospel of John seems to be deliberately presenting Jesus in direct opposition to Dionysus. And it looks parallel to me. He says that Jesus is the true vine, which clearly would have implied that Dionysus was not the true vine. So he's trying to say, nah, you're not the true vine. Jesus is, not you. Anyway. There also may be an oblique reference to Zeus in Revelation 2:13 and John of Patmos' epistles to the church of Pergamon. I know where you're living, where Satan's throne is, yet you're holding fast to my name, and you do not deny your faith in me, even in the days of Antipas, my witness, my faithful one, who was killed among you, where Satan lives. Probably the gates of hell in Hebron, Mount Hebron, or whatever. They call that the gates of hell. Many scholars believe that the reference to Satan's throne alluding to the Pergamon altar, a massive monumental construction built by King Immunes in the third in the early 2nd century BC and dedicated to Zeus and the 12 Olympians. That's what we just went over. Here is a photograph of the modern reconstruction of the original Pergamon altar in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, Germany. So they recreated it. That's it. Anyway, Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Let me see if there's anything I missed here. They shut these down as I look through them. Um. Oh yeah, there is one more thing I want to show you. I got. It's funny because they had the. I had some translations up here. Let me see if I can find it. And here's a PDF file, if in case anyone wants to see it. 35 pagan gods in the Bible. That's besides the Olympian gods. There's all them other ones. There's, and you know what I think is funny? They took Pan, the god Pan, who was I think a demigod of like a half goat, half man, hoofs, horns, and of course he's got a tail. He's a devil, and they even gave him a trident. Do you see that? They even gave him a trident. Anyway, so here's 35 false gods in the Bible verses to go with them. I'm going to put the link for this in the chat. I didn't go over it. It's just we did go over it, but here's kind of a PDF, kind of a condensed list here of 35 pagan god with pagan gods with, there it is, with the list. Oops. Thank you, Kat. Very interesting and thought-provoking. So, well, thank you. Stuff like, well, thank you, Grace. Yeah, so I just kind of, we're just kind of showing how, well, not only the history of these Greek gods, Olympian gods, but they are connected to everything around us. We showed all the companies and the logos and all this stuff, and it's in the Bible. I mean, they haven't gone away. They have not gone away. So, oh, April, you're not going to convert to Catholicism? I think I'm going to pass too. But thanks for the offer, be Catholic or be lost. I appreciate your passion and your, all that. But anyway, I'm going to pass on the Catholic stuff. And, but I wish you well. I don't think you're going to have any takers on this channel, but, I can't blame you for trying. I can't. So anyway, so tomorrow night we're going to have the last in the series of the 12 Olympian gods. One more night of this, and then Friday's going to be an open chat. If it's nice weather, we'll have a bonfire. We got rained out last Friday. I was going to have a bonfire last Friday and got rained out, which is good. First time it rained in a month, so not complaining. But anyway, looks like it's going to be. So anyway, that's kind of the plan. But anyway, tomorrow will be the last Olympian god thing. Anyway, so I want to thank people for coming. Thanks for listening. And if you're listening on the replay, thanks for listening on the replay. Thanks for coming into the chat, Grace. D, it's good to see D tonight, Grace tonight, April tonight, and Be Catholic or Be Lost tonight. Thanks for coming and stopping by. Sedevacanist. All right. I wish you well with your Sedevacanism stuff. And anyway, thank you, God, for the gathering and all of our blessings. All right. All right, guys. Let me just double check. I think that's it. Yeah. All right. Unless anybody else has anything, I will say good night. But yes, I just want to show you one more time. I think this picture tells 1,000 worlds. Yes, this was interesting. I'm going to watch it again tomorrow. I missed a lot. Good night. Well, good night to you too, April. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, I just want to show one more time before I sign off. Just wrap your mind around this. This is where Paul's churches were. Here's Greece. Here's Athens, right about here. And his churches have circled Athens and up in Rome, up here, up in Rome. So anyway, yeah, good to see you tonight. Thanks for coming in, April. All right, love and blessings to you too, Grace. Good to see you tonight, as always, and everybody, always good to see you guys. And if you're listening on the replay, thanks for listening on the replay, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully, Lord willing. Anyway, good night, everybody. Bless you all. Good night. Yeah, Grace, it's a pleasure chatting with April too. Yep, good to see you. All right, everybody. Good night, everybody. Bless you all, and good night.